My name is Jim Manning, and I'm the author of Patriotism, Unhinged, available worldwide through online retailers. A lot of people are waiting for answers. The current president made a statement after he was inaugurated that he was going to let all of the information that's been held back for 62 years become public. And in addition, his new FBI uncovered some 2,700, I think it was, things that we didn't even know existed. And so it was my hope that he would come out with the truth. Now, I believe that he knew the truth since the last time he was the president. I say that because I saw him on television, much like the time that he was talking to young Mr. Bush about how easy it is to offend women. You get away with it because you're famous. That came back to bite him, and I thought it was going to come back to bite him because I saw him whenever he probably didn't know that there was a camera running. He was talking to a judge, Judge Napolitano, and Judge Napolitano asked him, did he know anything at all about the Kennedy killing? And he said, he got real excited. He said, oh boy, he says, you're never going to believe it. You're never going to believe it. He says, and I can't talk to you on the telephone about it, but the next time we get together, I'll tell you about it. He said it with such exuberance that I felt that he knew the real truth. I think they all knew, they were all told this, but they were all told they can't tell anybody about it because the contacts that they have in other countries and so forth would dry up, and they could give you a ton of reasons why they want to keep it quiet. The reason that people are not going to hear about it is for different reasons. There are many reasons. We'll start with the Kennedy family. Kennedy family, when John Kennedy was shot, when Robert Kennedy got the news, Robert Kennedy called the CIA, first thing he did, and he said, did you guys do this? And that was probably within hours of the actual assassination. That would have shown that he was not looking for an admission. He was putting them on notice that he knew that they were the ones behind it. The Kennedy family would not want, and especially Joe Kennedy, at that time still alive, would not want the legacy of his son, after having been murdered, to be that he was a traitor. And so the Kennedys have been woefully missing from any pushes on trying to get to who did it. Robert Kennedy might have had in mind that if he got elected, that he would get to the bottom of it. But having known that, it was pretty evident that he wasn't going to get elected. And when he started winning, he had to be taken care of. And so that's when they decided it was time to take him out. The CIA did not take him out. According to the evidence of the Crow, Robert Turnbull Crowley, the assassination of Robert Kennedy and that of Martin Luther King was handled by the FBI. Bill Sullivan, the deputy director of the FBI, was given the task of taking that on for both of them, and later may have been part and parcel to the breakup after all the years together between him and J. Edgar Hoover, which led to J. Edgar Hoover firing Mr. Sullivan, and Mr. Sullivan being shot out hunting by accident, or so it was stated. He probably didn't want somebody out there that could put the finger on him. That's the Kennedy family issue. And now we move into the academia. I see almost daily something comes over my email from academia. This is a organization that purports itself to be highly academic, and people writing different scenarios about anything from angles of fire of a weapon to psychological reasoning of how conspiracy theorists arrive at these conclusions. My feeling is that this is heavily, information is given to them from writers, good fiction writers at the CIA in the propaganda department. That's one of the big areas that keeps this whole thing rolling along, because people can go there and they have somebody who has a degree, a high degree, who's going to tell them that the sun that day was not in the right position to be able to make that any other way, and just anything you can think your imagination can come up with is in academia. I also know that this is a very expensive, well, I say very expensive, but it's an expensive series. It's not free, and they're very, very active. Another holdup of information can be blamed on not only the CIA, but all of the intelligence agencies. The fact that they wanted to cover for themselves, they bungled the job. They had 9 months from March the 1st until November the 22nd to arrange everything, to double and triple check everything. And with all that, they did a terrible, terrible bungling of the job. They left so many threads for people who wanted to find out what really happened. They had hundreds of agents whose job it was to run down any new conspiracy theory or start ones, because J. Edgar Hoover had explained to them that hiding and trying to stop people from coming up with these things was not the answer. The answer was to encourage them, so that there were so many things out there on the horizon that people would just get tired of it the way they have and lose interest. And so the CIA had a whole bevy of people with good imaginations and fiction writers who came up with so many claims and conspiracy theories that it was impossible to deal with. After quite a few years of researching this thing, I tried to come up with what I thought would have been the amount of people involved in the cottage industry of the assassination business. I came up with a figure that I think is probably close. So 15% of the people involved in this thing have a hand-in-hand connection with the Central Intelligence Agency. They may not be agents, they may not really work there, but they are leaning toward keeping this thing so confusing that nobody's really going to come up with the answer. The other thing about this is that subconsciously there are people who make a living on this. They write books, they write articles, they get paid for appearances. They have podcasts which you can watch, and like a ticker tape going underneath the show. It's this one donating $5 and this one donating $20 and this one doing that. So they're raising money, a lot of money. They would have maybe a subconscious bias to not want to believe anything that would bring this to a conclusion, because with the conclusion of the case comes the conclusion of their income. I'm not saying that most of them are doing it for that reason, but there are a lot that I call hucksters. They only want to listen to the stuff they come up with, and anything else that people come up with is not something that they want to aggrandize. And this, of course, has been one of the considerations for why it's taken so long to get this news out. And lastly, as we think about why people don't come to the conclusion that generally would be what my book has come up with, is that some of the researchers are the most wonderful people on God's earth. And they have studied and studied and studied and worked, and their families have been great for letting them be so involved in this for so long. One of the things, though, that happens in life when you're so directed toward working on this thing, you get to enjoy it so much that psychologically you may not want it to end. It's sort of like a golfer or a fisherman. They do it all their life. They enjoy it so much. But if somebody said to them, "This is your last day," those are all reasons why that may have helped not get to the answer. What we talked about today are all factors that need to be considered, because it's life. There's nothing more deceptive than an obvious fact.